Hello, today we will check what is available in TESLA service mode without TESLA service mode plus, just for the regular and free TESLA service mode. In order to access the service menu, we need to go into car setting, software, then tap and hold on the version of the car. And when this prompt pops up, we type service and we hit OK. We have a little disclaimer. We hit OK. And then the service mode will initiate. Keep in mind that if you have the climate control on, it will shut down when in service mode. This is absolutely normal. So this is the main page of the TESLA service mode. We have a brief description of our car, like mileage, VIN number, the hardware version of the car, and the software version that we have. Here we have some quick settings like the service awards, quick accesses. Here we can see all the recent service awards, not the current one. If we have something pending, we see it here in active alerts. We don't see them right now. So let me check. Okay, so we tap service mode once again. We can go back into vehicle settings without exiting service mode. And we can go back to service if we go to service mode. Currently, we have also service settings, which we can disable certain functions of the vehicle while in service mode. We have software reinstall, which allows us to reinstall the software if we have some software issues. This is accessible to everyone. We have service history, of course. So here we have some service that I have entered. We don't have any other service at TESLA. Then we have CAN viewer, which is very interesting, but it's part of the paid functions. So some of the functions in the service menu will have like those little key walks, so they will be not available without paying and subscribing to TESLA service mode plus, which is like the workshop subscription for the service mode. So we cannot access this. We also cannot access audio tests in the free one. And we have some additional resources that check. Currently I don't have internet connection, so I will not be able to check them. So let's go back into service mode. So we now can go through every one of the menus on the left. The first one is driver assist. And here we have two submenus. The first one is cameras. And here we can see the current status of all of the cameras and sensors. Sorry, this is only for the cameras. And here we can even, I think we can tap. Yes, we can tap on every of those like items. So you can see left repeater, fisheye camera, which is the one on the front windscreen, narrow camera, once again on the front windscreen, another camera, main camera, right pure, this is the camera in the back of the vehicle, which is facing, not in the back on the trunk, but in the B pure, which is facing back, I think, or a little bit on the front. On the side, it's covering the front area. On left of the vehicle, we have left repeater, which is the camera in the wheel liner, which is for the when you turn on the turn signal, you can see this camera feed automatically pops on the screen. So we can also do some ping tests on CAN and on Ethernet connection. We have reset DAS. or driving assistance systems. This is what DAS stands for. And basically, this reset is meant to be performed if you replace any of the cameras, or some, for example, in an accident, some of the cameras are misaligned. We need to reset the camera's alignment, and during, let's say, 100 or 200 kilometers, the cameras will readapt by themselves. So you don't have to do anything. It's not like the legacy automakers, for example, the German ones, for example, Volkswagen. When you have misalignment in camera or a sensor, we need to go to the service shop and actually to the dealer, and using some OEM tools, they need to recalibrate the cameras. So you can do automatic recalibration by entering this menu. So here you can see some other like statuses here. Then we can see here the positioning status of the positioning signals, GPS, Baidu and Galileo. And when we go to the second submenu, we can work it out by going to the main menu, second sensors. And here we can see all of the sensors of the car. So we can see the states in green of all of the sensors, and once again we can just tap on the green dots. And okay, it seems that we cannot do this here, but those are the ultrasonic parking sensors. If you have one of those, my car is the last with them, so you will not have those sensors if your car is above 2022. And we can check the status of all of them if we have any issues. Then we can go to the second major menu, which is infotainment. Here in the first submenu we have connectivity, which is basically all the wireless communications of the vehicle. You can see Wi-Fi, cell and modem. You have some test functions here, test modem, test LTE antennas, and toggle SIM, which I don't know what exactly it's doing because I cannot trigger it. Then on the next submenu, software, we can see the different software versions. The software versions in the different, let's say, banks. It's called banks, like separate memory units of the car. So for example, we can see that we have 2 banks for the infotainment, 2 memory banks for the autopilot, and 2 banks for the maps. I'm not sure why then they don't appear like size. But once again, we can just monitor the status of everything. Once again, here we have the software reinstall button once again, and issue update status. Issue update status, when you click on this, you can access a menu of where you can see what was updated in the most recent updates. So for example, this is the list of the issues that were successfully updated during the last issue update. And let me fix the brightness, sorry. And down here, if you click, we can access all of the rest of the issues in the car, which were not in this case updated. And here you can check if your car comes with the radar. So we have this radar issue here. Because the radar disappears from Model 3 somewhere in 2021, and this car is exactly on the edge of this disappearance. So here I check that I have this issue in my vehicle and I don't have phantom braking. Then we have some submenu for actions, where we can do some touchscreen check for the screen. Then high voltage, the next and one of the most important menus here. The first submenu, HV systems. Here we can see the current state of the HV system. As you can see, currently we have everything in yellow. So this is the high voltage battery here. And we have like the high voltage loop or the input and the output of the battery. The plus and the minus, call it whatever you want. This is just the circuit which is going out and into the battery. And it's yellow because currently it's in state accessory. So we're not in drive, we're in park, and it's normal to be like this. So we are in accessory state. For example, if I'm in drive or I just switch off in drive, here we will be in drive state. So it's like Clement 15 on the older vehicles. So a lot of people say, oh no, Tesla don't have this. No, it have it. It just automatically engaged the drive mode. You can clearly notice when this happens by when you switch in drive. You can see, maybe you didn't notice, all of the warning lights appear on the left of the screen, just like a test of the lights of the dashboard. Warning lights there by some ISO standard. And this is the moment when the vehicle is switching from accessory to drive state, of course. So next submenu. Here we can only monitor. We can see some quick details about the battery, the contactors of the battery, and the DC link. Here's the PCS. PCS is the power conversion system. I think this was the exact abbreviation. It's basically a module which stands below the rear seats, somewhere right here. If I can click it, okay, I cannot. And it's basically the unit that converts all of the high voltage into low voltage. So it contains DC to DC, which converts 400 into 12 volts. It also contains some of the charging circuits, so it can convert, so it inputs the charging current into the battery. It's not the onboard charger. I'm not sure if the onboard charger, I think, is built into it, but it's like a separate device in the same like cover. But here we can also only monitor status. We have button to open the battery contactors. Currently they are closed. So the battery is currently supplying 12 volt supply to the 12 volt system. The second submenu is charging. Here we can see the scheme of the car's charging network. And first we have this section which represents the charging port, and you can see mobile connector. Currently I have the mobile connector, wall connector connected to the power outlet. You can see some data, 2 volts, 0 amps, currently not charging. And next we can see this, once again, the PCS, not charging. It's connected to AC, but it's not charging. We can see the HV battery, again some details. We can see pack contactors, once again the battery contactors, fast charging contactors are open, and you can see actually the fast charging contactors are separate than the pack contactors. So currently the battery is supplying voltage and power to the 12 volt system, but it's not, because we don't have fast charger connected, the fast charging connectors are open. And then you can see some data for the charging port, which is represented by this little green dot. Once again, everything in green means okay, there are no faults. We can see like cable state, watch state, battery cover present. We can see this UHF button press detected, currently in gray. This is the button on the Tesla connector that automatically opens the charging port 4. If you now I go and press this button, you will see this blinking, so it displays that it's correctly recognizing the button press. And we have this button for reset port ECU, charge port ECU. I'm not pressed it, but it's accessible for free to press it if you have some issues with the charging. The next one is one of the most commented out, the HV battery submenu. The HV battery submenu we cannot do anything here without the plus subscription, but with it we can do a high voltage discharge. High voltage battery configs can be changed. For example, if you replace the battery in a shop, they'll configure the new battery from here. Then we have a clear blocked pack contactors. This is if some of the contactors stuck by some reason or for some reason. They can be some procedure for cleaning them up can be performed to here. Then we have the clear isolation conditions. This is, I'm not sure what is it, but should be some clearing some issues with the isolation of the battery if they are being repaired. Here we can click the separate ECUs. This is representing the battery. We can see some data about the battery. State of health currently is not populated because I didn't do the battery health check test, but if you do it for 6 months after the test is performed, it will be displayed here. Once again, we have some reset state of health and reset life model. Those are some actions that can be performed with the TESLA Service Mode Plus. And reset state of charge if above 90 or below 15% only. Once again, not accessible for the user. And here you can click on the separate units. This is the PCM, power conversion system, PCS, sorry. You can see the state tidal, and this here is the high voltage controller, which is part of the PCS in the same box with the PCS, but it's like a separate ECU. And you can see once again some data. We can see the low voltage input to the low voltage system. We can do some resets here in the tests and low voltage power test. We have some other issue here. Positive contactor, this is the contactor itself. Fast charge contactor state. Pyro disconnect, so this is the pyro fuse. We can see some resistance of the fuse. And negative contactor, of course. Next submenu after the batteries, HVAL. This stands for high voltage interlock loop. So this is representing the complete high voltage circuit. So in all vehicles, by law, any high voltage circuit, even the 48 volt in the mild hybrids is considered high voltage. It should be so-called faulting type of circuit. That means that the circuit is completely separated for the vehicle. So this is it's done with the purpose that you don't accidentally fry yourself if, let's say, the force is grounded to the chassis of the car. So the minus of the battery is a separate one. It's not using the chassis of the car like the 12 volt. So for example, of the 12 volt, if you are sitting in the car and you're touched to the any metal surface, you're basically connected to the negative of the 12 volt battery. And if you touch, let's say, the positive terminal of the battery, you will complete the circuit, but because it's too low voltage, you will not, no current will flow through you and you will not be fried. But that's not the case with the high voltages in the high voltage system. So that's why the battery doesn't use the car chassis for ground, and it's so-called faulting type of circuit, and this is representing the complete circuit. So you can see some resistances. This is the resistances of the circuit itself. You can see rear, front, and some separate locations throughout the high voltage circuit that you can see some states. For example, if you have some problems with the conductors, we will see here increased or decreased resistance. 60 ohms is perfect. Once again, everything is green. I think we cannot click here anything, but we can see even how the current is flowing. here is coming out of the battery through the PCS, going into the low voltage battery, and so on and so on. Here are the climate or HVAC unit, which is high voltage device. Next submenu, drive unit. Here we can see short state or status of the drive units. Front drive unit, if you have one. Front drive unit, we can ping it, parts info, some info about parts, and real drive unit. Here we can switch the motors to only front or rear, speed limit on or off. The speed limit is currently meant only for the service menu, because we can see we are speed limited. If you need to perform some service checks or diagnostics and you need to accelerate above the speed limit, which I'm not sure what is the speed limit, but if you need to go past it, you can switch it off from here, and the service mode will stay activated even with the speed limited, even without the speed limit. So we can here, even this is the VC front, let's say the main, I cannot click it, but this is VC front, is the main front controller of the vehicle. VC left is the left controller of the vehicle. It controls everything on the left side, like doors, windows, and so on, lights. You have, here is not displayed, but you have also VC right, which is the right controller. The front controller is, I think, one of the most important issues, because it controls everything in the front of the vehicle, including the drive unit, as much as I know. Also, it's very well connected with and have a lot of common functions with the autopilot or the big computer in the car, which is behind the glove box. Okay, so those were the high voltage service menu items. The next one is low voltage, and the first submenu here is keys. Here we can see the slots for the keys. So these are the different things that can unlock this car, either cards or mobile phones. You can see I have configured a few of those keys. So we have three phones, and we have cards. 2 slots, and 1 slot is free, and 1 slot is this beta route planner, which I have it disconnected. And we can here sort by phone or card. On the right we have Bluetooth controller. This is the controller which is connecting the Bluetooth card key, in this case the phone, to the car. And you can see the power and CAN points over there, and you can see all the antennas left and right. So Bluetooth low energy, this is BOE, it stands for Bluetooth low energy antenna. You can see some decibel readouts for the signal strength. You can see this rear is blinking, I'm not sure why. And here we can see the current key connected. This is my phone, channel 0, channel 1, channel 2. So there are 3 channels, 3 separate channels. So we can connect 3 separate keys simultaneously. For example, if I have my second phone here, it will be connected together with this phone on the second channel. So this is the menu for the keys. Second submenu, power distribution. Here we can see a representation of the power distribution between the high voltage and the low voltage system. So let me fix the brightness. So we have once again the different modules. This is the PCS. You can see voltage, and this is the system. So this is the part of the PCS which is converting the 400 to 12 or 13 actually volts for the low voltage. We can see the low voltage battery here, which have a state OK and no active alerts. This is the VC front. We can see some data about VC front and also reset VC front button, which is not accessible right now. And here are the VC right and VC left. We can see also the current that area of those ECUs is currently consuming. We have some eFuse states here. So for example, if you burn something on the low voltage, for example, like a light bulb, there are no light bulbs in this car, but, or for example, the cigarette lighter is shorted out. I have already done that by accident. You can just see here the if-use state and reset those. Down here we have some lead battery or 12-volt battery information. In my car is the lead one, the lead acid battery. In some of the cars is the newer lithium-ion battery. And here we can change battery type, and we can see also some information about the battery. If you need to replace the battery, there's nothing that you need to do here if you replace it with the exact same battery. So you can monitor the status. And also we have the battery health here on the 12 volt. You can see battery health, okay, which is okay. Now the next submenu, seats. Here we can see some data about the seats. We can calibrate the both seats positionings. And if you move anything on any of the seats, for example, backrest, height, tilt, it will blink in green while it's moving. So next is HomeLink. I don't have HomeLink installed, so I cannot show you, or enabled, so I cannot show you. Actually, maybe I have it. I'm not sure if this is standard equipment or it's additional, but I don't have it. So next thing is the thermal main menu. First one is submenus actions. So here we can do some actions if we service the vehicle. For example, fluid fill and drain. We can force all the pumps in the car to work if we are, let's say, draining or changing the coolants in the vehicle. Then we can do some HVAC self-tests. For example, thermal performance test, which will be useful if you think that your HVAC is not performing well. You can test it from here and test HVAC performance. And then this is the thermal configuration submenu, which I cannot access, but here you can change the configuration in the gateway of the vehicle. The gateway is where all the configurations of the vehicle are stored, and it's currently locked. You can see there's a procedure for unlocking, but this is part of another video. So the next submenu is the refrigerant submenu, which we can see currently all of the HVAC like different valves and the states. This is the complete HVAC system. Those are all the valves which we can click and we can read what they are. We can see some pressure readings here and temperatures, compressor state. Once again, pressures and temperatures, and here we have button if we drain or do some service of the refrigerant. We can do this by here. We can reset the compressor pressure matrix after refrigerant is being filled with the correct pressure, and we can force the heat pump to run throughout the refrigerant fill and drain procedure. The next submenu is the coolant system, and here is very interesting. You can see the complete coolant circuit together with the octovalve. This is available only on the octovalve on the 2021 and above vehicles with heat pump. Without heat pump, we will see some simpler circuit here, and you can see the coolant flow throughout the vehicle. We have here is the front, the radiator. We can see the pump's RPM. Then we have the chiller and LCC. This is called the super manifold. You can see by this line. We have PT pump and battery pump. So this is the battery circuit here in the purple. You can see, sorry, it's not the battery, but it's the electronics coolant, let's say. Battery loop you can see here. HV battery and autopilot are together connected in the cooling loop. So first the autopilot computer, which is liquidly cooled, is heating the battery. So the residual heat from autopilot goes to battery, then goes back to the octovalve, which connects all the loops together. On the left in blue, we can see the powertrain loop. So here we have the rear and front drive inverters of the motors, together with the PCS. It's PCS is power of the powertrain loop. So you can see the PCS firstly is heating first, and then is heating the motors. Then we have the coolant bottle. This is the coolant reservoir on the front of the vehicle, and then once again they go into the octovalve and in the super manifold. And we have some actions here. We can do the coolant fuel and drain procedure, pump identification, coolant purge start. We can force the coolant to move, and coolant valve test to check all of the valves, part of the octovalve system. Next submenu, and last in the thermal main menu, is the HVAC one. So here we can see just the HVAC for the cabin system representation. You can see all the air inlets to the vehicle, and we can see like the front, this is the cabin fan, which is just blowing fresh air from the outside. This is the outside air, and so on. The next main menu is chassis menu. Here we have alignment and tires. We can see here some live data of the alignment of the vehicle. For example, this is representing, currently I'm rotating the steering wheel. Now the steering wheel is center position, and we can see here is perfectly center. So we can check this is what the vehicle tire angle is, and you can compare it by the angle at the steering wheel. And we can do some offside drive tests. You can just do a drive test to check if there are some offsets in the calibration, and so on. We can reset learned tire values as well. Next submenu, TPMS. Here we have the states of all of the TPMS sensors. Currently we are not in drive, and we cannot access them. And here we can see start to drive to pair the TPMS sensors. Localization will only occur if all four sensors are successfully paired. So the sensors are paired to the vehicle, and localization will basically, the car will self-learn where every of the sensor is. For example, when you rotate your tires or change something, some position of the wheel, the car will automatically learn where every of the sensor in which tire is. And you can see the type here is TESLA boot to low energy, so the sensors are boot to low energy sensors. Then next submenu, steering. We can see here once again the steering scheme of the car. We can calibrate the steering column, which is not which is accessible for everyone, and we can do a steering column configuration. Then we can see some electric power assisting thing. This is the steering rack, and here are the Newton meters that is providing to a vehicle. Currently I'm in park and the rack is not active. Next is the CCCM, which is the basically all of the steering wheel functions, like both of the buttons. For example, now I'm rotating the left scroll wheel. You can see it's flashing in yellow. Then I'm also putting it left to right, and also you can see here the spokes, also buttons for wipers and parking button and so on. You can just use it as a diagnostic tool. If any button is not working, you can verify here that the car is not receiving the input and it's not like a software bug, and it's button itself. Next one is brakes. Here are all of the brake systems. You can see, if you click, we can see the temperatures. I think maybe not in park. Temperatures of the brakes. You can see the brake booster, which is just the electric brake booster pump status. Not sure if you can check any additional information. And here we have the actions, which is brake stiffness test, brake bleed. So we can do, by using those buttons, we can do the brake bleed if we do some brake job. If we replace anything on the brake lines, you can do a front left, rear right, and front right, rear left circuits, and you can go in the electric parking brake into service mode if we need to change the rear parking, calipers or discs. Then we can do brake configuration. We cannot do this brake configuration here right now, and we have a brake burnishing, which is, I'm not sure what exactly this is doing. And this is everything in the chassis main menu. Next one is the closures main menu, which is basically doors, windows, and so on. We can go in windows. We can see the state of every of the windows. We can do a calibration of the windows. Also, we have wiper module replacement if we need to replace the wiper module. And also we have the rear defrost state or status of the rear defroster if we have it activated due to flash in green here. Then we can go to the second submenu, which is frunk, and here we can see the watch switch 1 and 2 of the frunk, and we can see currently that both of the switches are pressed, so there are no issues with the switches itself currently. The next item here, or the next main menu, is safety and restraints. The first submenu, airbags. We can see the state of all the airbags, and this RCM is the module that's connecting the airbags. I'm not going to touch anything here, but you can click on every of the airbags and check the status. Then in seats, you can see the state of the seats. You can see also the occupant detection. So currently I'm in the driver's seat, and you can see it's a little bit lighten up, so it's detecting me. I don't have my seat belt installed. And you can see the rest of the seats are not in light green, they are light green, they are not occupied. You can see the rear seat belt buckets are lighting. This because I have some devices to just be like a fake seatbelt plugs. And that was everything in the service menu of the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. There is a lot of information here, a lot of usable procedures like the bleeds of the brakes, like the electronic parking brake activation, like the resets of the 12-volt battery, which we used to use diagnostic tools for older vehicles, but in Tesla everything is accessible without even connecting anything to the vehicle, activating anything. It's just right here, and you don't need diagnostic tool for that. You can do it at home, which is very welcomed for DIYers and for the guys that want to work on their own cars. So now, in order to exit this mode, you go to exit service mode and hold, and the service mode is now disabled. So, thank you everyone for watching. See you next time. Bye!